In Work Together 14-2, we're given a partially completed worksheet for coastal aquatics, and this looks very similar to the one we did in Chapter 6, it is, I believe. We have all the account titles, the trial balance, debit and credit. We have the adjustment columns, income statement columns, and the balance sheet. So we see that we have some blank lines that we have to fill in. So our instructions are here. So we have an 8-column worksheet. It's partially completed. We're going to be entering the account titles and the account balances on the following lines. So they give us the line number, the account title, and then the account balance. What they don't give us is the normal debit or credit, so we have to kind of remember the normal debits or credits of these different accounts here. So our first one, it says line 3 for accounts receivable, and the amount is given here, $15,485.25. So we're just going to simply add in the titles. Accounts receivable we know is an asset account, and we know that all asset accounts have a normal debit balance, so the amount that was given was the $15,485.25. The second one is going to be on line 13, accounts payable for $18,482.28. We know that an accounts payable is a liability, and we know all liabilities have a credit balance. So we're going to scroll down to line 13 and fill in this information. So there's the second one again, the accounts payable and the amount in the credit column. Our third account that we're going to fill in is line 29 for sales, and we have quite a large number here, so you might have to split your screen so you can see both numbers. But we know sales is revenue, and revenue has a normal credit balance. So we are going to scroll down here and plug in this amount. Okay, so here's our sales again, and the amount in our credit column of the trial balance. The last one is purchases in line 32, and purchases we know has a normal debit balance, so this number here is going to go in the trial balance debit column. Okay, so we have just completed instruction 1. Now we have to total, prove, and rule the trial balance. So this becomes difficult with so many accounts and so many numbers to add, but it is an important step to make sure that our trial balance is equal, the debit and credit side, before we move on. So we have to start right at the beginning with cash, add these numbers straight down the column, all the way down to the federal income tax expense, and get an amount for our debit column, and then do the same for the credit side. So go ahead and add them up, and then start the video again to see if you come up with the numbers that I got. Okay, we're back. Check to see that you calculated the following: $1,109,585.86 for both the debit and credit. And now we know that we can move on if our trial balance is in fact in balance. So our next set of directions, number 3, it says from a physical count of the following, December 31st balances are determined to be. So this is where we make the adjustments like we did in the other worksheet that we did for the service company. So we have 3 different accounts that we did a physical count. Supplies-office, we did a physical count and had a account of $657.15, supplies-store, and prepaid insurance, and you can see the amounts here. So if you recall, to do our adjustments, we have to do a debit and a credit in the adjustment column. So the first thing that we have to find is our supplies-office, and we started with a balance of $5,485.25. When we did a physical count, we had this much remaining. So remember, our adjustment column is to figure out what we actually used during this time period. So we have to take this number here in the trial balance and subtract the number that was remaining from the physical account. And then we have to debit one account and credit another. So when we subtract those two numbers, we get a $4,828.10 left. So if we recall, we have to record our debit first. So we go down to our supplies-office expense, down here, supplies expense-office, and we record the debit amount. So the amount that we got when we subtracted was $48.28.10. And then we do the credit account to show that we are crediting the amount that we used for the same amount, $48.28.10. So now go ahead and try the supplies-store and the prepaid insurance. Do the same thing. When you look at the instructions and the amounts, make sure that you subtract the beginning balance in the trial, subtract the amount that's left on hand, and then check your amounts with mine. So let's check our numbers. Supplies-store, we had a physical count and we found we had remaining $633.11. So we go to that account, supplies-store, and we subtract what we started with, subtract this amount that was left, and we come up with $39.45.25. So remember, we always should do our debits first. So we go down to the supplies expense-store, we record the debit, and then we go back up here to the supplies store and record the credit. Expenses, as we know, always have a normal debit balance, so that's why we do the debit first. And our last one, the prepaid insurance, we have a physical count of $800 left. So we started with prepaid insurance with $6,200. We subtract the $800 and we get $5,400. So we go down to insurance expense for $5,400 as a debit, and prepaid insurance as the credit. Those two accounts go together for the adjustments. So that concludes the 14-2 work together. Go ahead and finish this before moving on to the on your own problem. So this was pretty simple as to putting the remaining trial balances, making sure they're in the right debit or credit side, and then doing the first three adjustments, supplies, office supply store, and prepaid insurance.